Thanks, Rafi. And it is a huge pleasure to be here. I feel so honored to be in Armenia this weekend, and thank you so much for making me so welcome. So if we can get my slides up here. My name is David Singleton, and I work at Google on the Android team. Specifically, I work on our wearable products, like this watch that I'm wearing right now, as well as some of our mobile applications that we build inside Android. I've actually been at Google about 9 years, and I've done a lot of different things while I was there. I started in London building mobile apps, and then I worked for a while on mobile infrastructure and then on ads. So I worked with lots of different teams, and then from there I moved to California and had a great experience of figuring out what it meant to be in a new place and have a new team, and then moving back into mobile for my recent stuff. And I really do think of myself as a mobile guy because I actually was working on smartphones before they were popular. So before Google, I worked at a company called Symbian. We built an operating system for smartphones. Some of you might remember it. It was in some of the Nokia early smartphones. It was great, but not great enough these days. And there I was an engineer, and then I had an amazing time working in their technical consulting division, where I would spend time going around the world and working with engineering teams who were actually turning our operating system software into handsets, and getting a chance to work with all these different teams who had completely different styles of working, completely different development practices, really taught me a ton. And so I hope that some of what I've learned through working with those teams I can share with you guys today. So the title of my talk is Autonomy Without Chaos. So what is this autonomy thing in the first place? The way I think of autonomy is it's having teams and individual engineers able to choose every single day what they're going to work on. And why would we do that? Because I have seen over the years that if you have the chance to work on whatever you choose to, and you have a huge passion for what it is that you're doing, that unlocks amazing productivity and creativity, which really turns into the most amazing experiences in products. And why do I say without chaos? Well, actually, another thing that I do is I advise a lot of startups. I have a few investments, and oftentimes people come to me and say, hey, you know, I'm really spending all my energy just telling the engineers what to do. And you know, I don't know how to scale. And I say, you're doing it wrong. The whole point here is that you want to give your team the autonomy to figure out, and the information and the skills to figure out what they should be doing. And the immediate reaction many times is, oh no, that's going to lead to chaos, because there'll be this thing happening and that thing happening and this thing, and we won't actually ship the product. But hopefully I'm going to share how you can have autonomy and unlock that amazing creativity and productivity without the chaos. So here's how I think about things. We have the product that we're trying to build, and we have the team that are going to build it. And some of the things that I think that we really want to strive for in our product, if my clicker is going to work. Can you guys advance the slide? Okay, well, I can kind of remember what's here. Okay, awesome. So think about the product that we're trying to build. First of all, we're not just building the product for ourselves. We're building the product for a user, whether that is a person sitting at a web browser, like Alexis was thinking about, or it's another developer using your infrastructure, or it's maybe an enterprise, a company that uses this to actually deliver their business. So it needs to be built for the user. It needs to be useful. Also, I'm going to say, I think it also needs to be quality. We want to deliver experiences that work every time, and don't cause, you know, a lot of concern among users of, am I going to be able to get my job done, or am I going to have a good time with this? It also needs to be timely. So we are in a global competitive market here. So having the best idea isn't always the recipe for success. Having the best idea or a good idea and delivering it so that people can actually use it is important. So productivity and timeliness is really important. And finally, in order to build things that people love, as Alexis said, it's really important that your product is enchanting. There should be something there that means that not only will I use it and be like, oh yeah, that thing worked, but actually I'll go and tell my friends, hey, this thing, go get it. It's the best thing you can possibly ever do. And to do that, we need to enchant our users. And a lot of that comes out of the team. So if the team are productive, then they'll be able to build this quality, timely product. But also, if we're able to unlock that passion, it gives them a chance to be creative, to build the things that will enchant the users, and also to be happy. And happy is important. No matter how hard you're working, if you're happy, that can create a sustainable team that will stay together and be able to deliver massive value over time. So, what I've really realized over time is that how we work, the actual way we do our work, has a huge impact both on the product, can we deliver all those things that we talked about, and on the health and the vitality of the team. So I'm going to talk about how we're going to work. So who knows what this is? A rocket launching, yes. Anyone know which rocket? That's right, it's a Saturn V rocket. In fact, this is the rocket that launched Apollo 16 into space and ultimately took the men sitting in this little capsule to the moon. And I think that program, the Apollo program, represents an amazing, audacious accomplishment. And one of the things that I think is really remarkable about the Apollo program is that they had a really clear objective. So I'm trying to advance my slide. So they had a really clear objective. In May 1961, John F. Kennedy said, I believe that before this decade is out, this nation should send a man to the moon and return him successfully to Earth. And that was an extremely clear objective. And clear objectives are what you need in order to enable autonomy that leads to real results. So General George Patton also said, never tell people how to do things. Tell them what to do, and they will surprise you with their ingenuity. And that's how I like to think about how we set objectives for our teams. So maybe one quick word on the difference between mission and objectives. So a mission is something that can last kind of forever. So the mission of NASA is something like to advance the scientific knowledge of spaceflight and human endeavor, or something like that. So it's something that can never be, it can last for the whole time that our organization is together. Whereas an objective is something that actually says, here is what we're trying to do by when. And to have really useful objectives, I think that they need to be clear, so anyone should be able to tell what they mean. And I think the best way to make clear objectives is to describe them in the voice of the user or a lay person, someone from outside of the team who could understand what that means. So instead of saying something like, we want to migrate our infrastructure from MySQL to distributed Redis, you could say, eliminate the cases where we're never selling or where we're selling the same product twice. So that the actual problem that was causing the need for the migration is what you should put there. Everyone can understand what it means from the outside. I also think it's very important for everyone on the team to contribute to this process of setting objectives. And that might sound kind of hard, but it's actually really quite empowering. So the way that I've typically done this is asked folks on the team, as the time is coming to set objectives for the next period, to really think about what it is that they think would make the most difference and that we should be doing for all of us to have the best product. And in order to make that possible, it's actually extremely important that within the organization, there's total transparency. Important that everyone on the team can see the data coming back from users, can see all the metrics, actually understands maybe some of the challenges of the business, like, hey, we only have 3 months of funding before we need to go out and raise our next round. Therefore, we're going to need to do something big in that time. Total transparency is required. And then you'll find that the things we should be doing come up kind of organically from the team. Of course, our jobs as engineering leaders are to make sure that as we synthesize those suggestions, that we're actually really headed in the right direction. And if any time there's doubt about that, I find that the best thing to do is get together with the team and just keep talking, keep sharing all the input that everyone has, and we get to really, really useful objectives that everyone believes in. The next thing that's important is to check in on, sorry, I'm going to go back one slide because I missed one thing. Well, it doesn't matter. The other thing that's important is to have a fixed time period. So we should be able to say that these are the objectives for a certain point in time. That means that we can actually think about exactly what we can do and how we can do it to get there by then. And they should also be measurable. So we should be able to say, for instance, if we had a goal to make the site faster, we should be able to say, and that goal is going to be that all results pages load in 200 milliseconds. And then if we are currently at 500 milliseconds and we get to 250 milliseconds, we can see exactly how well we did over that period. And then my pro tips here are on this slide. Set stretch goals. So the Apollo program set this audacious goal to get a man to the moon. And I'd like to encourage you to keep that kind of achievement in mind when you're setting your goals. If you set goals that go a little bit beyond what feels inherently possible, like if we just keep doing what we're doing, then we're going to get to X. But if we set a goal that's like 1.3 or 1.5X, then over time we'll really be stretching ourselves. And that actually forces the team to use that creativity that you're trying to unlock to find not just the incremental solution, but the solution that changes things significantly and allows us to keep stretching. Checking in on progress is really important. We're doing this over a fixed period. At Google, we use a tool called OKRs. It stands for Objectives and Key Results. And we set those for every 3-month period. I've seen other places where it's done monthly and on some other periods as well. But whatever interval it is that you're trying to make progress over, taking the time maybe a third of the way through and 2/3 of the way through to see where we're at and just share that status with the team is extremely powerful. Remember, we're trying to achieve a state where individual engineers and teams can come in every day and choose what to work on. So if the team sees an area where we haven't made the progress that we all agreed we'd set out to, then you'll find that people just organically start to decide to work on that part of the problem, and that's really powerful. And then finally, this whole thing should be an iterative process over time. So at the end of that period, score your progress and use the score to kind of check on the health of the team and go into planning the next cycle. So it's totally iterative. If you could advance the slide again. So the next thing to think about is we have objectives. Everyone knows the state of the product. And now we want to actually turn those objectives into plans to make a difference. So here's how I think about turning objectives into plans. First of all, there are lots of different kinds of functions that need to come together on an engineering team to really build the best product. And I think that these three are the most important: engineering, product design, product management, which is what PM stands for, and design, so the actual design of the interface that we're using. And I really see those as three legs of the same stool. If you take any one of those legs away, it kind of falls down, a bit like some of our marshmallow challenges. And what I've found over time is that it's only when all of these functions kind of exist in a mind meld that teams make the most progress. So by that I mean engineers, product managers, designers actually spend so much time working together that they share the same perspective. They agree on what's important and they agree on the solutions that they're going to move forward with. But how is that possibly possible? Many organizations have the product managers sitting separately from the engineers, the designers sitting off in their own, special space with beautiful windows and white tables and everything. Well, you're doing it wrong. My advice is get everyone sitting together and able to talk in a very frequent, high bandwidth way so that they can achieve this mind meld. And another thing that's really important to be able to make that possible is the size of the team. Some of you may have heard this before. As the team grows, so we have N people in the team, if you think about the interconnections, if every person on the team wants to talk to someone else on the team, there are N squared of those connections. So it grows very, very fast as you add people to the team. So in order to accomplish that mind meld that I talked about, it's important to have small teams. And this is my suggestion of what the ideal team size is. It's 7 plus or minus 2, because you want to allow new teams to form and grow over time. So how on earth can we deliver something like Android Wear or Reddit with teams that are just size 7? Well, the answer is you can take these principles and just keep applying them again. If the team's getting too big, then figure out how to split it in two, set objectives, have the team set their own objectives for each of those, and keep the team size at 7 plus or minus 2. That way, everyone can spend enough time talking that they achieve this mind meld. And that means that individuals and the team can come in every day and decide what to work on because they know what's important. My next tip is for turning these plans into action is to always be shipping. And actually, Alexa said this already. Nothing I've seen helps a team achieve more productivity and more ability to work on the right things than to be always delivering their code to end users. So some teams I've worked on, we actually got to a point where we had almost completely continuous deployment. I think the development process for this is now fairly well established. We keep our code in source control, we have unit tests, we do continuous integration, builds are coming out and telling us whether things are working or not, and then we push to production. Now, obviously I come from a mobile background. I think that to achieve this always be shipping in a mobile app-centric world is a little harder because rather than being able to just push stuff directly out into production and see it running there immediately, we do have a client that needs to be bundled up and sent off to iTunes Connect or the Google Play Developer Console every so often. But what I would advise you to do is find a way within your teams to be able to take the code that people are writing out into the hands of people who can use it. They're not the same people writing the code as frequently as possible. So many of my teams will actually ship updates every day, which a large group of users are actually installing. Sometimes you can use things like beta channels on the app stores in order to accomplish that. And even when you get to production, I think it's good to strive for the shortest possible time. I've seen really massively scaled applications where folks are pushing out their updates every 3 weeks, every 2 weeks, and even seen weekly. And I'm not saying that's necessarily the best, but always be shipping means you've got this tight feedback loop between what you do and what users are seeing. And if everyone on the team is seeing that impact, then they can decide what to work on really well. And that's where this last point comes in. It's really important to measure everything. If you measure everything that you might want to look at in your product, then there's no real argument over, hey, did this thing work or did that thing work? Because you can look at the data. We're pushing it out to users all the time. Look at the data. Did it do what we thought it would? Yes, great, keep doing it. Did it do what we thought it did? No. Okay, let's go back and replan. And if everyone has access to that raw data that doesn't lie, then it really enables everyone to be able to be much more productive and autonomous. So that's it. Those are my tips for how to have autonomy and unlock that amazing productivity and creativity without chaos. And hopefully that will produce a product that is useful, quality, enchanting, and timely for your users. So just look at what time it is here. Can I go another 5 minutes? Cool. I have a little epilogue here. If I can skip my next slide. So one of the other things that I've done is that I have spent a lot of time working in teams that were distributed around the world. We can just skip past this. Cool, we'll get to that again. Next slide. So I've spent a lot of time working with teams that have been distributed all around the world. This is actually one of my favorite views. I spend a lot of time on a plane that goes from London to San Francisco. Happens to go over Greenland, which is a place I'll never visit. But look at this beautiful glacier that's calving off into the Atlantic Ocean. It's amazing. This isn't actually what you want to do. You don't want to spend a lot of time on planes because it uses a lot of energy. It makes it difficult to have a really great work-life balance. And a lot of companies around the world adopt this model of hub and spoke. So there's a mothership, there's an office somewhere in the world, which is where everything happens, where the CEO is, where most of the teams are. But then to try to capitalize on what Rafi said, which is that intelligence exists and smart people exist all around the world, they'll create all these little spoke offices. And Google went through a phase of doing that. But what I've realized, spending a lot of time working all around the world, is that can be a real challenge. So if we skip to the next slide. So this is kind of what you end up with. You end up with your hub office with its beautiful structure where people are all quite well organized. Of course, it's never quite this pretty. And your remote office where, we need to skip back a slide for me to explain this, but your remote office where folks are really working kind of a mishmash of things. So we've got a couple of different teams here and the folks in another office working on lots of different things. And that happens because people join over time, they have their own passion and they want to work on whatever matters. And of course, that's really good. It's good to try to work on things that you're passionate about. But this kind of breaks all those rules that I talked about before of being able to have small teams that can talk a lot. Because if we skip forward again a couple of slides, if these places are not physically close together, there's a huge amount of latency in actually talking to each other. And that makes it really hard to have that mind meld. So my number one only top tip for distributed development is put teams together with size 7 ± 2 who all work on the same thing and can actually achieve that mind meld. And that way you end up without having to lose because of the big delay in working between these places. Cool.
So I actually want to make today a bit of a full contact day. So I mean that in two ways. One is you should ask them questions now. So if you have any questions, raise your hand, and as you think about that. Two, feel free to interrupt the speakers. They may not like me saying that, but if you have a question, if you want something clarified, if you want more information, just stick your hand up. Like, make it a full contact day. So that being said, any questions for David?
More about enterprise, how to manage teams, how to manage distributed teams. As these two words are very much connected. I see one big challenge in entire probably global IT space, and it will be interesting how you see the solution. Or as Rafi told us, the main point is to inspire people, right, in your team. But in these two words, to cut this short, people now are pretty much, probably everyone here are looking to build something himself, like to join startup, to build something, to create a product. And from the other hand, we have enterprises or we have companies in which we have to manage teams and inspire people to not go after their dreams, but to work for, you say, for me or for company. So that's the probably bigger challenge here. What's your thoughts? So how you balance that? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. I think the question is really, hey, we have so many people here who are really passionate about going off and following their dream to build their own product. But also they're going to have people working in their companies, not immediately going off and following their dream. And also we have bigger companies, and how do we make this all work together? I think that they actually all go hand in hand. The experience that you can gain in working at a startup or at a larger company can actually be transformative in what you can accomplish when you hopefully later go out and do something yourself. So, and if you're successful, then you'll have to apply a lot of the learnings that you would have had hopefully in this kind of environment there. So I really do see the whole ecosystem of smaller and larger companies and startups that can help each other and then seed new startups further down the line as being really important. And I think that if you are thinking about joining a startup, it is extremely useful and important to join one where you do have a passion for the problem that's being solved, because it will just make it so much easier. Rafi described how he went to Twitter and raced someone into the office, Ryan Sarver into the office, because they loved working on Twitter. That's cool. If you can find something that you're passionate about, then it doesn't become work. Yeah, it's hard, but it's so much fun. And so I hope that helps explain. I think that is kind of an ecosystem that they all fit together.
Thank you for inspiring speech. I want to ask about these teams which are spread between the countries, because we have a lot of these kind of companies here who have branches here in Yerevan. And in case of Google, what's the motivation to have this team? You said in London and in San Francisco, and because you said that there is some latency, you have to travel a lot, and there's a disadvantage, but what's the advantage there?
Sure. So my slides didn't really work out for that bit. There was this beautiful animation that you couldn't see. So apologies if that was a little garbled. So I think there is huge potential in having large companies come to your local market and actually give jobs. You get a chance to work on things that are hopefully globally relevant, and you get a chance to really hone those skills that you can take into your own endeavors. I mean, for me in London, I think we started a team there just simply because we believed that there was a lot of relevant local talent. We started that team to build mobile apps. And we started the team there to build mobile apps because we knew that there were companies like Symbian, where I was working before, that and many others in that market that had the expertise. So I think that the relationship that you can have with larger corporations that come in is really important.
Thank you.
Follow up? Okay, cool. Another question.
Hi, thanks for the talk. And maybe my question is a little bit off topic, but you said that you were in wearables, right? So yeah, I would like to ask you, why should I trust my body data to Google?
So I'm not really here representing Google today. I'm here on my own behalf. But I will say that Google, sorry? Sure. Google takes privacy really seriously, and we really think that it's important for users at all times to have transparency, so know what's going on, get value from anything that we're collecting. So we don't want to collect anything that you don't get value from, and control over where that data is stored and who it gets shared with. So, I mean, an example here of what you can do with wearables. It's really amazing to think that I'm wearing a device right now that has a heart rate sensor that can help me see how active I've been throughout the day. And so that can provide a huge amount of value to me. I can figure out how active I've been. I can set goals. I can become more active. And we always strive to produce this value. That has to come first. Be transparent with users about what we're doing with it, and then give you control. And because we actually always stick to those principles, that's why I think you should trust.
So you mentioned the OKRs. We use also OKRs for the engineering team. So I understand measuring that. Is there another KPI that you would put on that you would say is really relevant and important in measuring the, the efficiency or the performance of your team or the engineering team?
So the question is there another KPI, so key performance indicator, that you would put on measuring the efficiency of your team? So I think that I've seen many people try to measure some of the intricate details of software development, like, hey, how many code reviews did this person get done, or how many lines of code did this person write? I think that's totally wrong. Do not do that. Because if you're actually enabling people to be creative and autonomous, then they might actually come up with solutions that are sort of revolutionarily different. You might actually replace a code base that has hundreds of thousands of lines of code with a simple solution that maybe puts together something from open source together with some simple modifications of your own. And I think that setting detailed metrics on the kind of like how exactly did work get done basis leads to false choices. You always just try to optimize for the metric. So what I would encourage you to do with your companies is only set goals that relate to, did we make an impact for the user in the market? So the kind of KPIs you might want to set are, how fast was our site? How many users have we got? Are those users happy? And I think that actually by setting those higher level goals in the voice of the user and having the engineering team take a stake in them, that is what will make you successful.
Hi. I have a single question related to teams management and what you have told that you are creating teams with a number of persons, 7 plus minus 2, and you are making distributed teams to work together. And what is my, and you have also shown a model with like a table with 3 legs, and there are engineers, there are PM, and designers.
Yeah.
So what I want to understand, what is the best way or the best way in your practice to manage teams? So 7 members or 7 plus have persons with the same specializations or not? Or if yes, if how to communicate, for example, all designers in a company and all engineers in a company?
Yeah, this is a great question. So the question is, hey, that small team, should that all be engineers or should that be all the people that need to work together? So I really do believe that that small team, the up to 9, down to 5, should include all the people that you need to make the difference to the product. So it includes the product manager, it includes the UX designer. But then how do they, this is your question, I think, get together with the other product people and the other designers in the company? Well, you can do this kind of by induction. You can also have a team of those folks that have maybe some overarching objectives, and they can have their little group of 7 plus or minus 2 that help them be moving consistently in the same direction. So a common design language, solving some of the problems that come up again and again. But yeah, really great question. One last one? Okay, go ahead.
That was a great question to lead to my question, actually. So in a team where you have too much experience in one arena, but you still need those people to deliver, to ship a product, how do you address conflicts on priorities? What needs to, the user's voice is the intuitive one, but there's a lot of the times there's disagreements on what will make the greatest difference to the user at a given time.
This is a really great question as well. So how do you manage priorities if you're kind of allowing folks to figure out what to work on? And that's the kind of a feeling that many people get when they hear about this kind of model is, hey, well, it's going to be chaos because we're going to have competing priorities and folks are just going to do whatever they want. But actually, by having the team understand all of the externalities and goals, I think that you'll find that many times those priorities get resolved internally. So people who are considering whether X or Y is more important, they'll just get together and talk. And that's what I meant by the MindMeld. So of course your teams are going to have disagreements. That's really healthy. That means they actually care. They're questioning decisions. They're thinking about, is this the right thing to do? And so what they then should do, if they disagree, is just start talking. Spend time at a whiteboard, spend time looking at the data, and achieve that mind meld so that they can together decide what it is that they're going to work on that satisfies that priority. What is the top priority that we're going to work on next? I know that sounds kind of scary, but I've seen this again and again and again. It really happens if you actually give people the autonomy and the power to decide, they will make smart choices about what to work on. It's really cool. Thanks.
Cool.